Attention, it's 8:38, and to take up the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee. I'd like to call item number 4 first. Item number 4 first.
Item number 4 is a motion by Council Members Perry and Labange relative to the concerns noted by the Pershing Square Park Advisory Board and the efforts of the Department of Recreation and Parks in identifying an operator for the cafe at Pershing Square.
I have one public comment card. Russell Brown.
Good morning, Russell Brown, President of the Pershing Square Park Advisory Board. We brought this motion after a couple of years, really, of frustration of trying to work through the process. As you're aware, Pershing Square is sort of downtown's outdoor living room, but there's a space for a cafe that has been abandoned and empty for almost 30 years. We have tried to work with the city's process to get a cafe operator there and didn't have much luck. We finally found, and we did an extensive market research study to figure out, what kind of tenant would go in there, what the rates would be. We thought we had agreement to move forward. We had a Bicos Group was ready to move in there, put in $300,000 in improvements after very, very, very lengthy conversations with the city attorney, and Parks and Rec was actually very cooperative. They had a special meeting. We made findings. The city attorney ignored all of that and said we had to go back to RFP. We have gone to RFP. RFP just closed. We don't know at this point whether or not we have a viable operator. So I will say I think we've made significant improvement on that.
Let me sit there as a member of the Neighborhood Council. Would the Department of Parks and Recreation like to join the table? Just give us an update. Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they've been very helpful. As things have sort of changed recently, we made a lot of progress.
Hello, committee members. Regina Adams, Recreation and Parks. Per the motion, there are several things that we were asked to address. One was regarding the financial operations at Pershing Square. Annually, we do present a board report to our board, which gives an outline of how the expenditures occurred for the fiscal year for the Pershing Square operation, which includes the park as well as the garage operations. We just last week also took another report to our board whereby we're going to break it down even further, and we're going to set up some additional accounts to provide the PAB as well as the rest of the public additional financial information. We're going to go into more detail as to how the funds are spent for the park operations, which includes the downtown on ice operations, the special events, the youth programming, and so forth. As far as for the cafe operations, we do have a space in Pershing Square. We have been working with the PAB as well as with the city attorney's office and our board. And what we have done is we did release an RFP. It just closed last week, so we are now, based upon the results of that, we will be regrouping with the city attorney's office and going back to our board to further direction to see what they want to do at this point.
Good. Have you met with the councilwoman of the district or her staff?
We work very closely with Councilmember Perry's office as well.
Do you need more time, or should we hold this in committee for a month and get a report maybe in about a month or so, or how are we doing?
Well, like I say, based upon what we will do now, we'll be working with the PAB. I don't know if that's anything that we need to come back to this body or the council about, but we will continue on the process that we're doing.
All right, is there a deputy for the 9th District here? And just a question, let me ask a question, only because I'm trying to balance issues out. Have you ever thought of putting some catering trucks in?
We are looking at that as well.
Okay.
We actually do Friday night movies and do concerts, and that recently has come an option. You're very aware of the food truck issues.
Yeah, it's just.
But actually, in Pershing Square, the food truck issue worked out well because there is not restaurants right there.
No, I think it's appropriate if it works out, even in other locations. So then we'll send this on to council, and then if you feel comfortable, I'll check with Ms. Perry to make sure. If there's any other thoughts, I want to hear from their office. Mr. Wesson has joined us now, and I thank you for your work. Any comments on this item number 4? Okay, so we're going to send this on to council, but maybe at council you give an update on Pershing Square and your progress that you're making, because I know everybody, especially Ms. Perry, is interested in all the improvements we can make there.
We're almost there. We have a new management structure. We've been working closely with Regina. Vicky's been very helpful. At the next Pershing Square Park Advisory Board, which is in a couple of weeks, I think we'll have most of the final answers that we need, and I think we're well on track to fixing a lot of
Thank you
this.
very much. Okay. Now, next item, we have 3 and 2, which we're going to take together. We're going to hold 3 right now, because I want to hold 3. I want to hear 2. I'd like to hear from the department and the CAO. I do have public comment cards on this issue. If the CAO and the department could join us at the table, and the city attorney, whoever wants to add to it, whoever should.
Item number 2 is an item continued from 9/21/10. It's the Chief Legislative Analyst and Department of Cultural Affairs report relative to the Department of Cultural Affairs request for proposals to transition cultural art facilities to public-private partnership.
Okay, CAO, Madam CAO.
Terry Sauer with the CAO staff. Mr. Chairman, as you know, Cultural Affairs has been working to issue a request for proposal for partnering of 15 arts facilities. A number of issues have come up, specifically those that relate to the properties on recreation and parks land, and a number of other issues as it relates to the sliding, potential sliding scale or potential rental fees. We've been working with your office, your staff, and the department and the city attorney, and at this point we would recommend, as we have discussed with your staff, that perhaps it would be prudent for our office to review the RFP and perhaps issue the RFP on behalf of the department. We'll work with the CAO, with the CLA, the department, your staff, and the impacted council offices to facilitate the issuance of the RFP.
Now, this is done because of the ability to assist cultural affairs, because of the challenges that they have in managing, and I'm just
Correct.
saying that in all defense of cultural affairs.
Yeah, the
Many of these
department
departments been
has
cut.
been impacted and has limited administrative resources.
Right.
The CAO has some experience office-wide with the issuance of RFPs and the coordination of those types of issues, and we would be happy to offer our expertise and our administrative support to move this process along.
Will you help us identify any funding that we could try to get if there's a bridge that's needed? Because the clock was pretty tight coming in here today, and that's
Yeah.
why we added this to the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. Currently, there's only 6 months funding provided in the budget for the operation of the facilities. We will work through the budget, the FSR process, and as we move forward, and if there's a need for additional funds, we will work with your office and look within the city's resources to see what funding we can identify to continue the operations while this process is in play.
And I think October's right around the corner, so would you say 6 weeks, you could have this back to us or something?
We're confident that the city attorney, I believe the department will be providing us with the draft RFP, and we're confident that working with the department and your staff that we could be back in committee in around mid-November with something to move the process forward.
Right, and there's 2, we're not going to meet on election day, to give everybody an opportunity to vote. That's the 2nd of November, I believe. So the next meeting is when? You could use the microphone, Lisa. You don't have to whisper. I can't hear you.
November 16th.
The 16th of November. So the 16th of November, you can present a document to this committee, which would then, let's say, be all the I's dotted, the T's crossed, that we then could forward to council, have a placeholder, and try to execute that. To operate an RFP, you usually need about 90 days.
We will, frankly, Councilman, in terms of that timeline, I'll have to go back and look at what's been proposed by the department. That seems about right. It might be a lesser time frame. Obviously, there's you need to have a bidders conference and to advertise and to get the word out and answer any questions, and then allow sufficient time once the proposals come in for our staff to or for the rating committee to evaluate the proposals so that we
Right.
can come back.
Conceivably, I'm just throwing in my mind, Mr. Weston, that it possibly could be March 1st. So that gives us the challenge to be able to, that's even an awarding, that's being if everything is blue skies. So, but we need to have it reviewed and tightened up. And I want some clarification, because I want the partnerships to be partnerships that will be successful, and there will be a division of what is the responsibility of the property owner, which is the city of Los Angeles and its building, and then what the not-for-profit could do to enhance that, whether it's the utility cost or the janitorial service or air conditioner, whatever it is, as opposed to giving them, if there's a relationship, that they'll be responsible for the full building, which I don't think anybody could walk in and be responsible for the full building if there's a deficiency in the structure or something like this nature here. So, and I believe Budget and Finance wants to look at this as well.
Yes.
But I want to do it concurrently because I don't want to miss time. You know, we've been on a rocky road, and I think we want to try to get a point of direction. Mr. Wesson?
This process has been anything but blue skies, even though we would be desirous to have it that way. I just want to ask again, what do we anticipate financially that we will save if we are successful in this process?
I believe the estimate, the last time this was discussed, was around $800,000, so we're looking $800,000 to $1 million. Clearly, additional research, if we don't hit the January 1st target date, we will need additional resources to continue until such time the RFP. It is conceivably possible that the date would get pushed back, so there would be additional expenses at least through the third quarter of the year. Again, we were targeting 850. What we were trying to do is, given the city's shrinking resources and our ability and the ability to continue as many city services as possible, this was a way. It was hoped that this would be a way to continue those services, or to continue to be able to provide those services to the community, but at a reduced cost to the city.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, of course, I will follow you on this, but for me, in the few years that I've done this, we set a target number. You never reach that target number one. So if it's 800,000 and everything went right, we're not going to get 800,000. It'd be 7, it'd be whatever. It just seems to me that every week there's a new hiccup. Every week there's a new problem. And I would prefer, or not prefer, but it would make sense to me that somebody would say, wait a minute, let's rethink this totally, because we're really not, no, I'm not doing it for that. But thank you. Okay, I rarely get an applause at 9 o'clock. Okay?
9 o'clock in the morning.
I just, it's not a lot. Well, no, it's just not. Every week, another hiccup, another headache, wrecking park concerns, and now we've got the CAO's office in an attempt to maybe. Sometimes it's like we're getting signs and we're not reading the signs that we're getting, and so I just have some concerns, and I don't know what the process would be, but I would like to. I mean, somebody, the smart guys and ladies that just sit in a room thinking stuff up should maybe go sit in another room and think this up. And then I think there's some realistic concerns. I don't know, how many facilities are we talking about?
15.
And how many facilities realistically do we think people would bid on?
We're hoping, or it is the hope, that all
50. No, let me preface that. A responsible bid.
I think that there's going to be a bid for the 6 facilities that are currently partnered out. I think that the nonprofit organizations that are in those facilities will want to re-up. That's the word we're getting, McGroarty, Lancashire, et cetera. So I'm confident that those will have bidders because they have tenants in them right now. I think Barnesdale as a whole, which is 4 separate facilities, but on one park, and that will be bid out as one entity. So I think Barnstable will, Warner Grand will, so that's 8 entities, if you will. I am less confident about the William Grant Still Center, as we've discussed. I think that the Madrid Theater has a good chance of being, of soliciting a bid, because it's got a strong tenant organization. So if we count Barnstable as one, we're really looking at 11 entities, and I would say that 8 or 9 of them will get bids. So my professional assessment is that, you know, we'll get bids on the majority of them. I don't know that necessarily the bidders are going to want to keep the same programs there that have been there in the past under city management. So that's an issue for a lot of people who are used to having those programs. And I'm sympathetic to those issues, but, you know, this is a tough situation.
No, I get that. I know that it's tough. But Mr. Chairman, I can't envision, and I have tried to, a responsible bid for the William Grant Still Art Center. And if there was a bid, my guess is that whoever placed the bid would probably not be able to provide the same types of services that are provided now. It's challenged. It's in a neighborhood that has some challenges. It has no parking. And anyway, I guess I'm just kind of babbling, but I would prefer that.
But I think we got to talk to the mayor and to our colleagues and try to define some money for some of this. But at the same time, I think the CAO and has to, if we are going to be able to survive the future, and the future is darker than what this current state we're in, I am told, we have to get partnerships. But I want to make sure it's the right partnership. So if there is a partnership, they're not held accountable for the steel in the building. It's a city building. The city should be accountable for that, but they should be accountable for the utilities. Because if they, some of our colleagues want to make them accountable for absolutely everything, and it's called a partnership, so it has to be refined. The document that was done was a good attempt, but needs to be refined by the CAO, and in about 6 weeks they come back here. We will have time to talk to others to try to make that. But also, there are some that will partner because of the advantageous conditions. If you don't have parking, it's very difficult to achieve what you want. If you don't have that support, it's a bigger challenge. So I want to work with you, because maybe we could have defined even some that may be in another category that would maybe not have a partnership that would bring resources to the table. So I'm with you on that, Herb.
No, I guess it was just a level of frustration to a certain degree, because it just seems like we're putting all this work into this with minimal return at best. No fault of the departments, in my view, where it relates to they were given instructions and they're trying to follow what we ordered them to do. But I just think that they're bigger fish to fry than this. And the last thing that I'll say, I understand that we're in deep financial peril right now, but we're the second largest city in this country, and we've got to figure out what kind of city we want to be and what kind of services we want to deliver. And I just can't, I just think that our Rec and Park and our arts programs take a back seat where we should be on the forefront where it relates to those things. Yeah,
all right.
We really need to.
Yeah, on this issue here, we're going to order that. We do have some public comment, so if you want to make a comment, in the interest of some activities that are responsible, I'm going to have a 1-minute public comment card. If you need a little more time, please express yourself. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Garay, do you have anything you want to add to that? Olga, anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say that we're trying to do the best that we can responsibly, and we'll keep on working at this.
Very good.
So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Cheryl Williams, Claire Knowlton, Jay Bedore, and Margaret Flynn. Please.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Williams. Before I start this, I'd like to hand this to Olga. I have a list of questions and concerns, and I have given the council members up there an additional sheet with an email address because I really don't want to take all the time to have you answer this. I'd prefer it in an email in writing to me. And if anybody in the galley also wants to hear the responses to these questions, make sure I get your email address and I will forward it to you also. So just quickly, I'm going to run over some of the questions. First question is, how do we, and I'm talking about the general community, how do we get a transparent budget from the Department of Cultural Affairs? We would like a breakdown of all monies and resources that are and have been given to the department, okay, and exactly where it's been spent, including grants, donations. In this breakdown, we would also like to know about travel expenditures, expenses for consultants, artist honorariums, catering, and etc. We also want a breakdown of major projects, including the Guadalajara Book Fair, Arco Madrid, and Dublin. Now, in this particular case, we are concerned because we know that these trips have been taken as an effort to improve Los Angeles and our partnership with other people, but we don't know what's been done, where they've gone, or anything there, so we'd like a breakdown of that.
Very good. Okay, we got your letter. This is a good letter, and we'll get answers to what we can get answers for, Ms. Williams. Okay?
All right, so are you
Okay.
telling me to stop now?
Yes, unless you have anything you want to add. It's a very good
Okay,
letter.
Real quickly. We, just as some suggestions, I'm sure most people have seen these booklets come out to the city.
Right,
These are wonderful booklets.
right.
However, these booklets cost a lot of money. And in some cases, we're wondering why.
What the cost is. I agree with you, too, and you can go online. Ms. Williams, you bring up good points, but also sometimes sponsorships like they have books. We're going to call the next person.
All right.
And I have to discuss the matter of an incident in Griffith Park last night. So if you could just call, Claire, you're next. Jay, you're speaking there, and I'll be right back, Mr. Webb.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And is it Claire?
Yes. My name is Claire Knowlton. I'm the Executive Director of McRory Art Center. We are one of the currently partnered centers. We've been partnered since 1995. I really want to applaud Cheryl on your letter. I think the questions she's asking reflect a lot of the questions I've had myself, and I just haven't had the bravery to ask them, so thank you for that. Also, Councilman Wesson, I really want to thank you for putting this whole issue into perspective, that we really aren't talking about that much money, and probably the amount of city staff time and private staff time that's been dedicated to this issue has well exceeded $800,000 at this point. I also wanted to thank Councilmember Labange for directing Rec and Parks to come back with a partnership option for any of the centers that are on Parks land, like McGrory Art Center is. My understanding has been that Rec and Parks has a policy that requires a recoup of all costs and a charge of market rate rent. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's the information that I've been given, and that's very concerning to me. We know that the centers on Parks land, if burdened with those costs, would definitely shut down. I'd also just like to say that
Thank you. See, Mr. Labange made a mistake. When it's a minute and I'm in charge, it's a minute. So and I'm sorry, but that's just the way that I run my committee.
No problem.
But I enjoy when you come and you make a lot of sense. I think Jay is next. So Jay, get everything in your minute that you can.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to say that, yes, it'll be a dark future for the city. You have the ability to make it happen and make it a better future. Yes, it costs a lot to run either program, private or not. And I think it's your decision to say if you want to keep the parks the way it is, and you can say to yourself that I did this, I kept this program, and I did everything I could to work with the people here.
No, I agree. Well said.
And I agree with you, the parking and the situation there, it can't really afford anything larger, and I meet a lot of people there.
Thank you. Margaret.
Thank you. I would have some questions that need to be on the record for today. One is just clearly, what has Olga Garay done to try to find money to fund the city's community arts centers? Another is, has cost-benefit analysis been performed? What is the net result? What is the cost of implementation? And why do we grant so much money to well-established museums and not to our own community art centers? I think if Barnsdall Art Park becomes a franchise of MoCA or some larger entity, it will not serve the community in the same way that it does as it does now. And that free public access is essential as a community center in Los Feliz.
Did a clerk, or can you give those questions to a clerk, and then maybe the next time we meet, we will have the chair can give you a response to your questions. Thank you all. Now it's Lily Bernard, and a name I'm struggling with. Is it Nyla? And are there any more cards?
We're on 2?
We are on 2. Yes. Okay. Lily?
Yeah, Lily Bernard. I own the Lily Bernard Art Studio on Chungking Road.
Hey, guys. Shh.
On Chungking Road.
Go right ahead.
Chungking Road in Chinatown's Art District. I intoned last week that the problem with privatizing Barnsdall or Will and Grant Still to an institution such as MoCA is that MoCA has fallen into what the Academy has done to the mainstream art world. That is, it suffers from really a white supremacist mentality, unlike other mainstream art fields do. They have this criteria called the MFA, often from UCLA or USC. The problem there is all the professors are white. The majority of the students there are white. So there is this terrible void of non-white experience in the mainstream art galleries and museums. And MoCA has not exhibited the commitment that Barnsdall has and William Grant Still to bringing another viewpoint of art, and that is what local Los Angeles artists are doing. They are not all, under the age of 30. They are not all white. And so this void that MoCA, that Barnsdall and William Grant Still is filling is important. And what would happen possibly if people like Ami or Mark, Stephen Greenfield weren't running? That's it.
Okay, thank you. Nyla. Mr. Labange, in your absence, what we've done is we're speaking 1 minute.
Got it.
1 minute.
All right, because he's a former speaker. He knows how to do this.
Okay, and Nyla, could you give me your last name? I couldn't figure this one out.
It's Nyla Arslanian.
Okay. If you would have printed it, I don't think I would have been able to get it. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nyla Arslanian, President of the Hollywood Arts Council and Vice President of Advocacy for Barnsdall Art Park. Also a member of the Greater Griffith Park Neighborhood Council, where we've brought this matter and really are concerned with the turning over to the CAO, particularly with reference to Barnsdall. We really encourage as much, and this committee certainly has done that in terms of bringing this before the public so that we're able to come here and interact with you and Tom and Councilmember Wesson and Mr. Reyes. We really look to you as our champions in this. And we can, if you stand up there for us, we'll stand behind you. But turning it over to the CAO is very, very much of a concern. And we hope that we can work something out with you. On October the 5th, we're doing a public meeting at Barnstall, primarily for fact-finding. I'll turn these over for you all to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Emily, yes, Oral Garai.
To respond to one issue that keeps coming up, which is the fundraising issue. And I just wanted to report that since I arrived in Los Angeles in August of 2007, the department has raised $10,560,000 more or less, of which 50% has been for the art centers and theaters that we manage. So the statements that have been repeatedly made here that the fundraising that the department has done has not gone to the art centers and theaters is erroneous. And we're going to post this on our website so that people can see how much we've raised and how much of it has been dedicated to the art centers and theaters, so that if people are interested in finding out, we're more than happy to share this information. But I just, $5.163 million, so almost $5.2 million of the $10.6 million that we've raised to date has gone to the art centers and theaters. So I just wanted to put that in the record.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ernie Cadrill, is that correct? On Spalding Avenue? Emily. God, I got glasses too. Did I say it wrong? I apologize. Emmy, I apologize. On Spalding. Come on up, Emmy. Victoria Gall. Thank you. Aaron Donovan and Tiffany Cole. Hi.
I am concerned with the loss of community services through the loss of the art centers, and I would like to know how come 10 people are running the DCA and make over $1 million a year, and they are supervising, as of now, only 40 people, full-time employees. Why can't they lose some of their money and give it to the community centers? I think there's a big discrepancy in payroll.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Tom.
Hey, Victoria.
Hello, Mr. Weston. We were just caught in the hallway this morning. Well, I don't know if that's the right word. Stopped by Marta Segura from our Garcetti's office, giving us a whole lot of new information, like stuff that we haven't even heard before. So I'm just wondering how we can make such a decision with all of these questions, like with unanswered questions and new questions popping up every day and new information and new facts. How can we possibly make such an important decision with so much ambiguity? And Tom, do you remember that time we were in the cornfields, before the cornfields were there?
Okay.
Downtown?
Okay.
This always happens. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I don't mean it like that.
My wife doesn't listen to this program. Anyway,
before the cornfields were there. Can I finish?
You got to finish. You got to finish this. It's her reputation.
Anyway, I rode my bike. My husband rode my bike. A lot of people rode our bikes down there. You were there. The mayor was there. The mayor pulls us off to this, well, he didn't pull us off to the side, but we just happened to be alone with him off to the side. And he's like, you know what? This is really frustrating. This city frustrates me so much. We have so much money, and they won't let me spend it. And, you know, for years, I have thought about that statement, and I've wondered what the heck he was talking about. And now, more than ever, I think about it. Like, what did he mean?
Thank you very much for your comment. I'm glad I'm clean on that one whole issue for that issue, but we got to work harder for you, Victoria. Thank you for your passion. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you very much, council members. My name is Tiffany, and I actually have a question that maybe you can help me answer. It's regarding the Arts Fund. And it was a very good point that you brought up about the funding and about these centers that may not even have options for the public-private. Now, I know that at one point in time, the city's attorney's office said that, nope, that fund can only be used in this specific case, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we can't actually touch the fund for what we would like to use it for. But as I understand it, there's a motion that is still open that Councilmember Reyes had put into there, and that all, regarding this arts fund and being used in a different way, and that's all the next step is required, is to ask for a report that the DCA has stating that the city's attorney's office said that that fund can be used now in other manners, specifically for running this. And I'm trying to get that answer.
All right, let me ask the city attorney. Do you understand the question? You can hold the time there, Mr. Clerk. The question is would it be the Quimby funds? Would it be development funds? Now, here's the city attorney who could...
For cultural affairs.
For cultural affairs. Thank you. Very good question.
Asha Jankowski, City Attorney's Office. I just wanted to clarify, we're talking about the Public Works Improvement Arts Fund, and there was a motion made a while back, and at the time, the advice was given that some of those funds could be used for the art centers. The direction, I guess, at that time was for the guidelines and principles to be rewritten to include that language, and that's where it stands.
So this is an opportunity, and I thank you, Tiffany. Who's responsible for writing that?
The commission, the Department of Cultural Affairs
Good.
Commission.
All right, well, we have Olga could answer it right now. If I could just have you give the microphone for the record. Thank you so much, Emma.
Yes, what we were able to ascertain, and I think that I'm so glad that you brought that up, is that most of the bonds that are used for public works buildings do not allow us to use the funds for that. We do have MECLA funds, which our understanding is that MECLA funds are city-based funds and can be used for that. The person at the CAO's office who is in charge of that particular type of funding for city properties has told us that she would recommend that those funds not be used for this purpose.
MECLA funds, I think it is, not MECLA, but MECLA funds, if there's,
MECLA.
yeah, is our credit card. And they took our credit card away due to the budget crisis.
But we do have, and I will say this, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, we do have about $800,000 worth of cost overruns in the police station here that if you guys want to direct us to go that way, perhaps we could use it for this purpose.
Well, Madam City Attorney, could you look into that?
I think we would have to talk to the CAO, because I think we've already opined.
I think I would just, okay, that you opine that you can do it?
That any funds in the Public Works Improvement Arts Program can be used for the cultural centers. When the commission just has to rewrite the principles, and whatever the CAO has available to give can be given.
Right, so any funds that allow it, and so our research with the Bureau of Engineering and other departments has pointed us in the direction that the majority of bond issues do not allow the bonds to be used for
Here
that
we have the
purpose.
CAO right there, Victoria. I'm going to ask you to give up your seat for a...
Sure.
Okay.
And I would ask why?
Well, no, we're asking the questions now,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
you're good, you're very good, Tiffany, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there are a number of issues here. First, general obligation bonds typically are used for construction costs, and the costs, when those monies are expended, have to be used in conformance with the ballot measure. Typically, that's not for staff costs, and in this case, if it wasn't specified for arts centers, the city attorney would probably have opined that it could not be used for that staffing component. In terms of the other funds referenced by the department, we'll work with...
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I don't know if I follow this. So are you saying we could use the funds, but they just can't be used for payroll?
Well, it depends on each of the individual bond issues. The GO bond issues are all voter approved, and the
I get it.
expenditures. So we would have to get back back to you on that specifically. We need to work with our municipal facilities group to find out what monies are specifically being referenced. If there are general fund dollars and are appropriated through the general fund process that are not bond dollars, that are not MICLA, then there are no restrictions on those. And that's what we have to determine is the source of the color of that money. Is if it's general fund money and it's been appropriated for that purpose, it's a different issue. If it's bond fund money, you really are restricted by what's in the bond covenants. And
Mr. Chairman, and thank you. This seems like there's some possibility there.
Exactly.
I can't, for me, I couldn't, it doesn't seem like it's been prioritized to the level that it should be. What I would suggest is that maybe when we have one of our next meetings, we get a detailed report where someone comes in and says, you can use this, which we think equals this amount. We can use this, which equals this amount. We can't use that, and this is the reason why we can. And at the end of the day, let us see how much doggone money that we can use. It could help alter the discussion, but I would like for somebody to come and tell me specifically. In fact, I think at one point
We submitted the report about 3 months ago.
Yeah, but I'm just requesting that we.
Here's what I'd like to ask.
From what I'm hearing now, from the department and from the city attorney or CAO's office, I'm not hearing definites.
Got it. That it can't be done, that you cannot go that way. There's a possibility to go that way. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to put a motion by Mr. Weston that I'll second this morning in council directing the CAO to report back with options to find funding and list a variety of things for you to look at. And what can and can't be done, I'll waive it out of committee because I need, as you need, the support of the rest of the council to ask the CAO to find what may be under the tree that could help these survive. Now, I do believe, Mr. Wesson, in many cases, we're going to have partnerships. And I know we're not going to make the first. I got that.
We don't have a
but I think we need this bridge.
But I agree, but I think that what I want to know is specifically the answers where it relates to the bond money. Now, if they can come up with some other things as well, but if this is something where there's a belief that some of this can be used, then I want to find out what that is, how much it is, how we access. To me, that's just a common sense question. And so that's what I would want to
Very good. Okay. So this is what the process is about. When you have public comment.
We will determine what, if any, of those funds, we will work.
What, if any, of those funds are eligible?
Yeah, but again.
All funds.
It's
from A to Z.
It's pretty cut and dried with GO bond funds.
I got that.
It has to be used in accordance with what was approved by the
certain
board.
absolute restrictions, so this would be good. Thank you, Tiffany, very much. I'm going to call on Mr. Donovan right now.
Hi, thank you. My name's Aaron Donovan. I'm a teacher and a student at Barnsdall. I've been taking classes there for over 30 years.
Get rid of the right.
I grew up in Inglewood and Venice as a boy in the 70s, two of the most violent parts of the city. We were on welfare, food stamps, blue chip stamps, public school lunches. The cities were just full of drugs, violence, stress for a kid, just so much stress. My mother took us to Barnsdall and made us have this art program, made us enjoy this stuff. But it didn't make us. We loved to enjoy it. But we took classes like my sister and I, film, animation, drawing, kite making, made the newspaper for a kite I made. I look back today at my friends from those areas. I've tried to reconnect. Dead, gangs, prison, suicides. The arts programs that the city provides gave me something that took me away from this whole world that I lived in. And I'm thinking, who made the decision that the city cannot afford to fund the art centers in Los Angeles?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Lynn Jenkins, Beth Silverman, is that correct? Beth? Yeah, good. Aviva Weiner, Paul Gamberg, Ashley Fontanelli. And Ashley will be just a second before we hear the fifth. Please.
My name is Beth Silverman. I am a student at Barnsdall Art Center. I have one question. If Ms. Garay, who is appointed by the mayor, is doing the mayor's bidding, why has not the mayor stepped in and looked at what is going on in all these committee meetings and look at what is happening to the art centers and why they aren't supporting their constituents?
Thank you very much. The mayor is supportive. It's a very difficult budget time, but you could speak with the mayor's office if you want more clarity. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Aviva Weiner. I teach at Barnsdall Art Center. I took classes there. My children took classes at the Junior Art Center. I've been associated with them since pretty much they've started. What Aaron was saying about the arts programs saving lives is totally true. It's the most cost-effective way to change the world is to provide art education for everyone. Art heals. It's really not expensive compared to what we spend in prisons, spend in traffic tickets, in drug rehab programs. I've been working as a drug rehab counselor for 21 years as an art therapist, and I can tell you art heals people, and the city needs this. It's not a little priority. It's not a game. It's not toy. People think of art as, oh, children need someplace to play. Maybe they'll just go run around in the streets instead. Like Aaron and I grew up in the streets of L.A. I was born at Queen of Angels Hospital. Art saves people. It's a high priority, not a game priority.
Thank you very much. Lynn.
My name is Lynn Jenkins. I've taken art classes at Barnsdall for over 10 years. I'm also a grant writer, and I may need a little bit more than a minute, but I'll make it as fast as I can. First of all, therefore, and thank you to everyone for listening. I feel that we should just take this RFP off the table, and we need to mandate to the Department of Cultural Affairs to go back to the drawing board and include communities and artists in developing the options. And this is a rhetorical question. I want you to consider, how do we do that? How do we do that? How did we even get to this point? And we don't need to have procedural, technical tricks and games played on the public, a game of gotcha, so that in the end we don't have our art centers because of some bifurcation, some agenda that we didn't know how to follow. We are just the public, we're the citizens stepping up. But we are also everyone's employer here, including the Department of Cultural Affairs. So I ask the City Council and our friends here in this committee on both sides of this table to ask the City Council to make our art centers whole again. The mayor needs to reconsider the job description of the leadership in the DCA so that there is leadership there whose career objectives, personal and professional, are in line with what the real employer, the people, want. Okay. All right? If the leadership doesn't know how to run art centers, then we need to get leadership.
You can provide that letter to us if you would like. Thank you very much.
I have one last question.
Okay.
And that is, if we can find a way to work with big developers who are able to develop, for example, Koreatown in the extreme density, traffic-wise and otherwise, with new buildings, you know, obviously some favors went out to do that. Let's call in some of those favors to get money.
Ask the question right now.
Okay, and so the question is, if we are able to do that, how can we not also find some favors to fund the art centers?
Thank you very much. Paul. Ashley, you can join the table in a minute.
Hi. As probably most of you know, I've been a donor, a student, involved with Barnsdall for many, many years. I've had a bit of a change of heart last night. As I listened to folks, I've been trying to lead people to go down this road of taking charge themselves, of running a program. My wife's an artist. She's visual, and she works with her hands. And every morning she gets up, and she doesn't look at thoughts and ideas or policies. She looks at a blank canvas or a wheel that she has to create something with. I'm a business guy. I'm good at management. I'm good at administration. I look at policy. I'm a wonk, maybe. So I know every curlicue of what's gone on here. And I think what I'm hearing the community start to say very loudly is go back to February 9th, recognize that things changed on April 20th when Budget and Finance said It's expensive. Recognize that things are changing today when you're sending it to Rec and Parks. And I have and go back and revisit the RFP. Take Barnsdall off the table. One last point, one last question, really. On the second part of it, if you're going ahead, at least put a cap on security. This goes to my written statement, which is in the file.
Very good.
Under S1, put a cap on security of $5,000 and put a cap on custodial of $5,000, because if Rec and Parks looks at that, it's going to be super expensive for any
Thank you very much,
public
Paul.
partner.
Appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Ashley Fontanelli?
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Ashley Fontanetta. I'm the outreach director for a nonprofit organization called Coach Art. And I felt it was important today to call attention to the extended impact of the proposed privatization on the cultural affairs arts centers. Coach Art has the mission to improve the quality of life for children with chronic and life-threatening illnesses by providing them opportunities to experience the arts and athletics. For the past 5 or 6 years, we've partnered with a number of Department of Cultural Affairs centers, McGroarty, Barnsdall, William Grant Still, to offer their arts programs to the youth in our organization. These centers and the programs are a crucial component to us providing our services because not only are they extremely high quality and the teachers are extremely dedicated to the children in our program, but they're also low cost, which allow us as a nonprofit to support our youth involvement. I worry that if we lose access to these high quality and low cost arts programs, it will negatively affect our organization's ability to improve the quality of life for children with chronic illnesses through these experiences in their local communities.
Thank you very much. That completes the card on this issue. That completes the public comment on this issue. So on this issue here, we are going to have it back here on the 16th. We are going to ask, and I would like to have a motion, Mr. Wesson, so we get the full support of the council, or at least find out who's not supporting us, to have them look at every opportunity to purchase the revenue through the process of legislation. I used the wrong word, but to purchase that. So item number 2 is going to be continued to the 16th of November. But in the meantime, we ask the CAO to look at every opportunity to find funding to help in this area here. And I also want to say, too, it's not privatization, it's partnerships. And I know our Recreation and Parks has done a wonderful job in partnerships over the course of time. And Cultural Affairs has to continue to do that as well, finding partnerships that work out. Let me ask this next item, item number 3. The CAO, if the CAO could come up on item number 3 real quick.
Item number 3 is a motion by Councilmember Sana and Councilmember Labange relative to authorizing the Department of Cultural Affairs to release an RFP immediately to select a contractor to transition the following cultural art facilities to public-private partnerships under the current DCA recommendations: Eagle Rock Community Cultural Center, Lancashire Arts Center, William Grant Still Alley Center, Madrid Theater, Warner Grand Theater, and Vision Theater.
Good. On this issue here, it was not clear to me in the RFP that was drafted that, let's just say, the theaters, whether it's Warner Grand or whatever theater, or Lancashire Arts Center, how much would they be responsible for? How big a burden would they be in this partnership? Was it clear to you as CAO?
Claudia Aguilar with the CAO. What this motion is asking is to separate the facilities that are not Rec and Parks, and the underlying issues are the same for both facilities that are owned by Rec and Parks and by the general fund. So we don't feel comfortable with bifurcating, since the same questions are going to come up of what's the responsibility, who's going to pay for the maintenance, structure of the building. So at this point, I would agree that those issues have not been answered.
You can stand down, and I'm going to call the public comment right now. Thank you very much. For item number 3, Cheryl Williams, Irene Mendoza, Fred Allen, and Liz Johnson.
And that's that's what it looks like.
And you're all the Warner Grand folks, so good.
Yes.
Okay. Whoever wants to start.
I'm Irene Mendoza, board member of the Grand Vision Foundation and the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here today, Councilman Labange. I want to thank you and Councilwoman Janice Hahn and Councilman Wesson and the other council members for the support of this motion, which states that it authorizes the Department of Cultural Affairs to release an RFP immediately. And that's what I hope happens, that it happens immediately or very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene.
Hi, Liz Schindler-Johnson, Executive Director and President of the Board of Grand Vision Foundation, and someone who has personally and through our family devoted at least $500,000 to the betterment of the Warner Grand Theater and so much more to the community. We are a little different than some of the other groups who we feel very strongly for, and we feel concerned and full of questions and so many things about the future towards the Warner Grand. However, we do think that the Warner Grand would be better off as a public-private partnership, even though, like I said, there are many challenges and questions. We think that the city has done a great job with what they have and how they have a wonderful manager in place who we respect and enjoy and would hope to work with in the future. But we think that we can do more together. We will have more opportunities to even make it a better performing arts center for the community. So we urge you to go forward with the bifurcation.
Fred Allen. I'm Vice President of the Board of the Grand Vision Foundation, and I'm here also in support of your motion to immediately, as quickly as possible, make the Warner Grand available to us. We have a lot of work to do. We're fired up. We're ready to go. We need to have your support so that we can go out to our community and raise even more money and put the Warner Grand back online as a real performing arts center. That'll be a real value to the community.
Thank you very much. Ms. Williams, one moment, please. Mr. Wesson, my problem is in reading the RFP, and I did meet with city staff. We are not allowed to meet separately, so you didn't get this benefit. I did. And they had questions, Irene, on if there's a crack in the Warner Grand right now, who's responsible? So I don't want to burden you with that. I believe the city should be responsible in my heart, but at the same time, the way it's written, you're responsible. So if you're responsible the way it's written there, I don't see how we could get together. So this is why I'm asking the CAO to rewrite this here. I know we're anxious, but at the same time, I want to make sure it's the right document that flies. So with that being said, I appreciate what you're saying, but I can't support this at this time based on the CAO's clarification, because some of the writings in the RFP, which I haven't totally seen but was briefed on, did not clarify those issues. And I think if we have a partnership, we got to be partners. It's not saying you use my house, but don't mess anything up. If you use my house, you should be able to use it, and if you mess it up, we figure out how to fix it.
No, we want to receive that house in a very good condition. Thank you.
And because we have been working very hard on the restoration and improvements of the building since 1996, we could probably contribute some information as well.
I got it. So we'll work with you. I'll work with your councilwoman on that. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank Irene Mendoza, who is a retired city employee, and nothing makes me so proud, not of all of you who are here, but also those who work for the public who come back to continue to work in a volunteer role. Thank you, Irene. Cheryl.
And she introduced me to my husband.
Oh, that's good. Okay. All right. Was it in a cornfield? That's what I want to know.
I think as far as the group that I am here with, and they're basically William Grant Still Arts Center, we are concerned because we don't know, we want to make sure that our community is represented within a partnership basis. And it just doesn't, there was a comment made last week that about the hiring and firing of city employees by someone who was speaking about their partnership and that it didn't work for them. Well, in that, bringing that to the table, we are concerned that our community will not be represented properly. We don't want there to be any bigotry or any exclusions because of a disagreement of who's right, who's wrong, and the threat of you're going to be terminated. So we're concerned that we're concerned that the privatization or the partnership is going to eliminate the community from what they actually need.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next, we'll have from William Grant Still, Ariel Pierce, is that correct? And Paul Gamberg.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I had planned to be a silent witness this morning, but we had a wonderful meeting with our councilman yesterday morning. There were a couple of points that came up I wanted to share.
Did you bring any what were those, black grapes?
Black grapes. No, I did not bring any this morning. I'm terribly sorry. Okay, now the first thing is that it's quite possible, we believe, that had better communications, more direct, more timely, existed between the Department of Cultural Affairs and the community centers, some of us wouldn't feel the need to be here. Because, see, communication helps to knit the bridge of trust between the parties. Case in point, our center, William Grant Still, delivered a couple dozen pages of petitions and over 600 letters of support from the West Adams District to York Chang and to Ms. Garay. Have we had a response? No. Not a phone call saying we received the package, but we're busy. Not a letter acknowledging the overwhelming support. Not an email. That can't have been a minute. Not a Twitter, not a peep. Nothing acknowledging that. Now, William Grant Still is against the privatization because we have already inadvertently, can I just have a few more? Thank you. Experienced what can happen under this process. See, when the main founder of the African Marketplace, James Burks, was the center's director, the African Marketplace became de facto the primary tenant of the center. Its meetings, phone calls, storage took over the center to the point where other programs were shrunk. Now, that reordering of our facility was with an entity the community loves and respects. We were happy for the success of the marketplace. But our concerns have to increase if a totally unfamiliar organization is placed within the center's wall.
Thank you very
Last
much.
but not least,
Uh-huh.
one thing that I'm cutting it down. Okay. When we were speaking with Councilman Weston yesterday, he welcomed our statements of concerns. But what we want to get across is that they're not our concerns. They're your concerns. You're the elected officials, appointed and hired staff, placed to ensure the smooth running of the city. If money is wasted, Joe Citizen is suffering, but you guys are suspect. If decisions are being made that are not to the benefit of the communities, your polls dropped. If money dedicated by law to the artistic enhancement of the city is misdirected, then each one of you is considered complicit in every step of the dismantling. All this dismantles the bridge of public trust. We know we don't want you. He said we have to figure out what kind of
Thank you
city
very
we want
much.
to
If
be.
you want to return that to the clerk, we'll look at it. Thank you.
I'll send- I mean-
Paul, summing it up, artists really create value, and sometimes you don't know it until they die. There's great value in not trying to have one size fits all. There are some ready for bifurcation, clearly. There are some not. But even those that are ready the ones that aren't ready are gonna suffer from a platen that has been proposed that has flaws in it. So you must button up first the DCA plan so that you're capping items like security, which obviously don't apply to the ones that are ready, but will apply to the ones that aren't. And you're also buttoning up with caps items like custodial at some point with greater communication, which is hearing the community, which I've just really put on my ears to hear. With greater communication and greater trust, various other organizations might be ready. I know this is in a budget crunch, and I know it's hard to be patient, but I advocate patience.
Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, it completes the comment on this particular item, and we're going to hold this in committee. Okay, just hold it in committee. All right, Madam CAO, is your recommendation. Now we have item 1 that's still on the agenda. Is the Rec and Parks representative here for item 1?
Item 1 is a CAO report relative to the ground lease agreement between the Department of Recreation and Parks and the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust for Fox and Laurel Canyon Park at 14353 West Fox Street.
Got it. I got it. Okay. Hi. What do we got before us?
Mr. Chairman, what you have before you is a ground lease between the City of Los Angeles and the Neighborhood Land Trust relative to creating a pocket park at Fox and Laurel Canyon. The proposal is a lease agreement which would date 15 years from the date of execution. The Land Trust received Prop K funding, and it was used to create a pocket park. As part of this, the Land Trust will be working to maintain the premises as a pocket park and will be required to make improvements, including a play structure, garden area, park accessories, gazebo, and climbing wall.
This is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Good thing.
And we would recommend approval.
Got it. Record Parks?
With unanimous Recreation and Parks, our board wholeheartedly approved this item on April 7th at its board meeting. And again, this is a great representation of partnership, and we also have a representative here from the Los Angeles Land Trust.
Right. And is there any money in this, or is it $1 a year, or what kind of relationship?
This will be maintained and operated by the Land Trust. This is a 15-year ground lease agreement between our department and the Land Trust. And they will also acquire the property through us and work with General Services as well.
And they're paying for it?
Yes.
Very good. Hi.
Hi, Alina Bookte, Executive Director of the LA Neighborhood Land Trust.
Hi, Alina.
And the ground lease, because part of the funding we received for this project comes with Prop K, the 15-year term is basically a service payback for the funding that we received to both acquire and develop the property. So
Very good, which you're paying for.
yes.
And it's located in what council district?
7.
And the councilman of the 7th district has been fully abreast of all this?
Yes.
Thank you. Recommend approval forthwith to council. Okay, Mr. Weston, what we're going to ask, just if you would just wait right there, Terry, we want you to look everywhere, and keep looking everywhere, and we're going to meet with the CAO, we're going to meet with the mayor, and we're going to find out what we can find out as we come back on the 16th. Continue on your effort as
Mr.
far
Chair.
as helping cultural affairs.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have one speaker card for that item.
I don't see it. The speaker spoke. She's just leaving right now. Alina spoke from the trust. She was from the Land Trust.
And to piggyback on that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, when you guys come back on the 16th, instead of us introducing a council motion requesting that you vet this bond money or what have you, can you come back then with a report?
We'll
that
deal
lets
with
us know?
we'll deal with that. Provide you a separate report on that issue and bring
Right.
it back at the same time. We'll review what Cultural
Perfect.
Affairs has already submitted.
That's perfect.
And just give you a separate report.
That's perfect. I just
Good.
wanted to...
We got to clarify it. All right, good. And then it would say Prop Q, eligible, not eligible. Prop J, eligible, not eligible.
Correct. Staff will review it, and we'll get back to you. And then if your staff has any questions, we're happy to meet with your staff.
Thank you very much. That's good. Madam City Attorney, anything else? CLA? Okay. Mr. Clerk, nothing else before us. Thank you all for your participation and your public comment. It's been very helpful this morning. We'll continue to work for it.